It's always weird filming when you're outside because people are usually like, what is he doing? Is he just talking to himself in the car? And now with the pandemic going on, it just feels weirder because it feels like everybody's looking at you. All right, well, let me go inside.
Rafi's Rants!
Hola, you amazing artist. So today I got a phone call from my brother, and some of you know, because I've talked about my brother, is that my brother is a full-time musician, so he is also a creative. So my brother and I are the two people in the family that did not go the family business route, and we are now just doing our own thing. As creatives, it's very important for us to keep track of where our emotions are, because a lot of what we do gets impacted by how we're feeling, right? So for example, with him, with music, if he's writing a song about whatever it is that he's writing a song about, if his emotions are being pulled in one direction, it might have an impact on him. Obviously, art and music and stuff like that has an impact in of itself on you, but at the same time, when you're creating it, if you have gone down a downward spiral of some toxic crap, it's going to be hard to A, start the project, or B, continue working on the project in a genuine way, in a way that you want to work on it. He was talking to one of our family members, and just this person has been, for the last year or so, they've been just really, really toxic. And my brother was like, I've kind of ignored it for a year. I've kind of just not really played into it or anything like that, and it's getting to me. And it really made me think about what goes on there in that relationship, the relationship that I've had. Obviously his family is also my family, and I can tell you that in our family there are a few people that are toxic that I tend to just kind of stay away from and not really interact. I limit my interaction with them very much. But I thought about that because I thought about the fact that it's all fine and dandy when you're telling someone you want to get rid of the toxic people in your life. You don't want that toxicity to enter you. The way I see it is here's this person and they're ruminating in this darkness and this crap, and there you are, and the moment that you start to just allow that crap into your life, it's almost like that darkness and that shit just gets in your life, and then you spend time ruminating about the interaction that you had, and it's just not good. It's like giving off toxicity and nastiness, and it's like the gift that just keeps on giving. Who knows where they got it, and then they want to pass it on to you. The person that he was talking about will sit there, and a lot of times what will happen is that they'll ruminate on something and just make it into this entire story, and just keep ruminating, and things just keep getting worse. And next thing you know, this person believes something that didn't even really happen. You know what I mean? It's almost like they've thought about it so much, and they've told the story to themselves so much that they are just angry and bitter, and they believe their idea of what their memory is, which, if any of you guys read my book, you know that there's that section where researchers found that memory is inaccurate. You remember things one way, someone else remembers things another way. Memory is just inaccurate. So if you're sitting there stewing about something that essentially you've imagined, and then you're taking it out on people instead of getting down to the nitty gritty and getting down to the truth and having a conversation, then at that point you're ruminating in a very, very negative way and just going toxic. When it's someone that is not a family member, it's almost easier, because you could be like, all right, you know what? I don't need this in my life. Boom. Wash my hands of it. And for a lot of people, it's a big struggle, because if someone is a family member, it's you don't want to do that, because, we're taught that family is, I grew up with my uncle being like, family is the most important thing, and it's the most whatever, blah, blah. But I gotta be honest with you. I love my family, but I don't buy into that. I think what is most important is your mental and emotional health. when it comes to things. If you have a family member that is extremely toxic, you don't have to put up with that shit. You just don't, especially if it's going to have a direct impact on your life. I knew a guy who wanted to be an artist his entire life, and he had the wherewithal to be able to do it, but he did not pursue it because his father was very toxic and he was always very afraid of what his father said. And so, like, basically, he waited until his father passed away and he was in his 60s and he started his career, and he started a very successful career, which is awesome. Except he could have told his father to go fly a kite at any point in time. It's almost like you deal with the toxicity because it is someone who is close to you. And I'm not saying that you should turn your back on them or anything like that, but a lot of times we just kind of take it, or we just kind of don't say anything because we don't want to argue. And it's not about arguing. It's just about telling that person, like, hey, I don't want this crap in my life. I know that with people in my life, family in my life, I'm like, listen, that is not my bag. Don't throw that crap at me. I just don't want it. I don't want it in my life. You want to live that way? You want to behave that way? Then by all means, behave that way. It's interesting because there's this societal dynamic that wants to pull you into being like, well, you gotta take care of them. And in my mind, I'm like, you've been on this planet way longer than I have. And you're just sitting there and ruminating and thinking about all this toxic shit instead of like moving on and being a person, like a full human that's not sitting there thinking about conspiracy theories and whatever negative bullcrap is just flowing through your mind constantly. And I've figured out that if you're going to be toxic to the world, if you're going to sit there and just allow that nastiness to be in your brain and buy into all the toxic shit that's out there in the world, then you know what? By all means, do that. But I don't need it in my life. I don't need it in my life. Leave that to you. You wanna focus on that stuff. You wanna ruminate on that. That is fine. Go ahead and do that. But don't bring it into my life and in what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring light into the world, not darkness. And I know I sound like really, really upset, but the thing is, like, when my brother called, he's like, I need to talk to somebody about this, cause like this is just getting too much. And like, I don't think people talk about it enough. Like, I think people need to talk about this more. As an artist, like, what I create is a part of what's going on with me in everyday life. And if you're going to allow that crap into your life, if you're going to allow a relationship like that into your life because you think that you're supposed to, because you think that it's your job to take that, let me tell you, it is not your job to take that. And I don't care who it is. I really don't care who it is. You can tell them to go F themselves. You sit there, you do what it is that you're doing. I don't need to think about you. I don't need to focus on your shit. I don't need to believe what you have to say, and I don't have to agree with you. And you want to get pissed about it? Go ahead and get pissed about it. Don't bring that crap to me because that's not what I'm putting out there in the world. All right, I'm gonna drive to the next location because maybe I'm just like angry because the car's getting hot. You guys know how I am about hot. I think the subject makes me upset, like gets to me, because I'm at a point in my life where I'm very, very protective of my emotional state, of the way that I feel about myself and the world, because I know now how much of an impact that had on me, and I was not that way for the majority of my life. And honestly, my life was a series of like roller coaster rides where there was just a lot of drama. And once I was able to get myself out of that place, I was one of those people that was toxic. I was toxic because I was just living in that world. Everything was about what someone else did and blaming this person or blaming that person or blaming this institution or blaming whatever it is on why I felt the way that I felt. And really, that's all it came down to. And like, that stuff is not good. Like, you sit there and you ruminate and you use this brilliant tool that we have to just be angry and blame people for the situation that you're in. And a lot of times, most of the time, all the time, it doesn't make any freaking sense. You start bringing up crap from like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and you pull from every source of data that you have to justify. If somebody is happy, it's almost like you think that they're full of shit, that they're lying, or that they're making it up, because you just don't see any way of actually being happy, of actually being somebody who's loving. The whole concept of like putting love and light into the world just seems like a ridiculous piece of crap, because the world is just gray and dark and ugly. And yeah, you know, every once in a while it's easy for any of us to fall into that place. But for the most part, we pull ourselves out of there because we don't want to live there. We just don't want to be that kind of person. There we go again. I'm ranting again. All right, so I'm gonna see if I can end this. I don't know how I could end this on a positive note. So here's a funny story. I was pulling through the front of the store, and a gentleman was walking out and just kind of stopped, and then I stopped the car and I waved him. You know, I was like, go ahead, go in front. And he kind of side glanced me, said some stuff out loud about me, some very derogatory stuff about me, and then spit in my direction, and then proceeded to walk in a long angle in front of the car. So I was just waiting there to get out of the road. And I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. Like, this guy is obviously telling some kind of story that is not relevant to what's actually going on right now. And it did make me think about the fact that, like, this is what I'm talking about right now. It's the same thing. It's like people sitting there. It's like, man, just ruminate, but ruminate for good, you know, ruminate for the power of good. Be a superhero, not a super villain that uses their brain for dumb shit. Positive note is this: it's your life. Don't give into obligation or any bullshit that causes you to deal with somebody who is super toxic. And if you do have to interact with somebody who's super toxic, just remember, you're your own person. You can tell that person to stick their toxicity up their butt, and you know, you don't have to deal with it. You don't. Like, just be like, you know what, save the drama for your mama if that's what you want to do, but I don't have time for your crap. What's the worst that's gonna happen? That they stop talking to you? All right, you know, like, just, you don't have to deal with it. You don't. You have no control over what they do, what they say, how they behave, but you do have control over who you decide to be and who you choose to be. So don't allow that toxicity to leave that house through you. Hopefully that ended it on a more positive note, because yeah, this is a heavy subject. This is a heavy subject, and I definitely did not tick all the boxes and talk about all the things in a brief car ride. I think it needs to be talked about more, and that's it. And I'm curious to hear, like, how do you guys deal with toxic people? Like, what are your tips and tricks that maybe I could share along and the rest of us could read on here? Just go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. So I am at my final stop, and just want to say thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And this is a rant, so this doesn't happen all the time. But if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just click right over here to subscribe. And that's it. Adios.